Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, July 6th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect sunny skies and highs of about 100. 8 weeks ago, the White House lauded Texas as a model for containing the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Governor Greg Abbott's plan to reopen the economy has unraveled as the state struggles to contain one of the worst outbreaks in the country. Starting today, the city of San Antonio will only test residents who report symptoms of coronavirus at their no-cost city-operated testing locations. Also, it seems Texas has had a weak response to the 2020 census. The state is tied with Arkansas for 40th place among states. While San Antonio is doing well, it's not too late to respond to the 2020 census, and it may keep a census worker from coming to your home later this summer. And now, we'll move on to the top headlines for the day. Are hospitals willing to pay nurses more to work during the COVID-19 crisis? They might not have a choice if the number of hospitalizations continue to rise. Nurses have been in short supply in Texas for years. Data from the Federal Health Resource and Service Administration shows a statewide shortage of nearly 16,000 nurses by 2030. Laura Garcia found out what the major hospital systems in San Antonio are doing to address the COVID-19 crisis and look closely at the potential lucrative roles of contract nurses. It didn't take long for fired San Antonio police detective Daniel Pugh, accused of punching his ex-girlfriend in the face after an argument outside of his home, to get a new job in law enforcement. According to records obtained by the San Antonio Express News, 8 months after he was arrested by Bexar County Sheriff's deputies, Pugh was hired as a reserve officer by the Leon Valley Police Department. Pugh is one of 3 SAPD officers hired as reserves by the Leon Valley Police Chief after being accused of serious wrongdoing. In the past decade, arbitrators have returned 10 fired San Antonio police officers to the force, reversing Chief William McManus's judgment in about 14 of the 71 terminations. You can check out the report by Emily Eaton at expressnews.com, and you can also find an in-depth podcast where we interviewed Emily about her reporting. Pastor Al Smith of San Antonio's historic St. James African Methodist Episcopal Church looks into the camera to record his weekly sermon. Quoting Marvin Gaye, he pointedly asks his small congregation and online followers, "What's going on?" Smith is savoring joy and curiosity over what he calls the find, the recent discovery of one of St. James' original church sites dating back to the early 1870s during construction of Bexar County's massive San Pedro Creek Culture Park project. Scott Huddleston has more on what the discovery means for the past and future of one of Bexar County's oldest black churches. Buoyed by the new Alamo Promise program, which had the initial Valentine's Day application deadline, FAFSA completions in San Antonio's traditional public school district increased by about 6% over the previous year, bucking the national trend. But counselors and administrators said they'd hoped for more applications for the free federal financial aid and felt hamstringed by the pandemic. Alia Malik explores what the counselors and students at several schools in the San Antonio area went through, as well as the other ways COVID-19 changed their plans. To keep all of our readers up to date on the path of COVID-19, the Express News has built a dashboard of interactive graphics showing the spread of the virus in the San Antonio area, in Texas as a whole, and across the U.S. You can find those charts at expressnews.com and at the link at the description. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside your Express News subscription. The coronavirus continued its unabated spread through the area Sunday as Bexar County reported 198 new cases and 8 new deaths, the highest death count since the start of the pandemic. The number of COVID-19 patients admitted to the area hospital soared by an average of 9% each day the last week, according to state health department data. If the surge continues, it threatens to overload the San Antonio healthcare system in less than 2 weeks. On Thursday, Governor Greg Abbott signed an executive order requiring nearly all Texans to wear masks in public. It took effect Friday and sparked mixed reactions on the streets of San Antonio. The state is trying to claw back tens of millions of dollars in unemployment benefits that it mistakenly paid to thousands of Texans, many of whom have already spent the money and face difficulties paying it back. The Express News editorial board writes, the USDA should have never awarded a $39 million contract to Create a Date, a San Antonio event planner we wouldn't entrust with putting tchotchkes in a bag, let alone delivering food for struggling families. The District 23 GOP race pits military veterans Tony Gonzalez and Raul Reyes Jr. against each other. Now Ted Cruz and President Donald Trump are on opposite sides of their endorsements. Columnist Gilbert Garcia breaks down what it all means. The Express News editorial board writes, masks cost a lot less in dollars and freedom than hospital beds, which is why we welcome Governor Greg Abbott's recent mask mandate, but also wish it had been ordered much earlier in this crisis. A San Antonio soldier serving in Afghanistan was killed last week in a rollover accident. The Army reported over the weekend that Specialist Vincent Sebastian Ibarra, 21 years old, was serving with a 10th Mountain Division combat team at the time that he died. Henry Rodriguez, whose education career spanned 3 decades, died June 21st after a short illness. He was 90 years old. An investigation by the Bexar County Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigation Unit is underway after an inmate died in custody at the Bexar County Detention Center while authorities say he was awaiting a COVID-19 test. This week in history, on July 8, 1981, Sandra Day O'Connor was nominated by Ronald Reagan as the first woman on the United States Supreme Court. Head over to expressnews.com/covers to check out that piece of history. White wooden posts claiming to mark the famed Chisholm Trail stretch from Brownsville in Deep South Texas all the way to Abilene, Kansas. Paula Allen explains in this week's history column that may be great for tourism, but it's not historically accurate, experts say. As a manager with the Environmental Service Department at University Hospital, July Ibarra's job is vital more than ever during the coronavirus pandemic, ensuring that surgery rooms and lobbies are cleaned and sanitized. Her supervisor, Don Willis, said Ibarra's story mirrors that of her team. The members are San Antonians, refugees, and immigrants bound together by their desire to provide for their families. And now, moving on to the fun stuff. While it's not a common medium, preserved butterfly carcasses have been used in art since the Victorian era. Sometimes large, colorful species are mounted as central subjects in a piece, while other works feature hundreds of butterfly wings arranged in motley patterns. Renee Guzman has the story of Lucy Povero, a butterfly taxidermy artist. The Truth Pizzeria restaurant rocks a hybrid New York Neapolitan style on the East Side. Read the 52 Weeks of Pizza review at expressnews.com. After his freshman season at TCU was cut short by injury and his sophomore year was derailed by the coronavirus pandemic, Reagan product Porter Brown is happy to have the chance to play for the Flying Chanclas in the San Antonio Collegiate League. A spiking rate of COVID-19 cases in Texas puts the fall season of high school sports start in jeopardy. The 4th of July holiday will serve as a barometer of where things are headed. David Hinojosa has more at expressnews.com. San Antonio FC has progressed through the 5 phases of its return to on-field training and is now making the final preparations for a more dense regional USL schedule. Thanks in part to the Spurs' DeMar DeRozan, mental health has been a priority in the NBA's plan to resume the season. And lastly, Paul Steven has tips on how to harvest your herb garden without killing the plants. And that's all for Monday, July 6th. This was your Express Briefing. My name is Luis Vasquez. Consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast in your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful Monday, everyone.